Welcome to NomadMedia, Automotive Tales, where we tell vehicle stories, a little bit of history, and some unique and personal experiences. Let's get right into it. Welcome back, and today we have Jonathan Robinson with his 2022 DF Goblin. Me and Jonathan here, we actually work together. I'm not going to say where, but you can figure that out on your own if you want to, but it's not that important. But Jonathan here, I saw this car with him one day, and he also showed it to me at work, I think. I think he showed it to me at work first, and I was like, I saw it rolling around, then I saw it was you, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, this thing is cool. What is this? But you were talking about it in the shop and everything, and I was like, wow, like I need to get you on. I need to get you on. People are gonna love this thing. And I know a lot of people probably have never heard of a DF Goblin, and there's probably a good reason behind that. So
so there's about 500 of these made already. With that, only 450, 470 have actually been assembled because some people don't finish their kit cars. It's from a company out of Texas called DF Kit Car.
And if you didn't catch that, kit car. So meaning he bought this in a box.
So you go online to dfkitcar.com and select what you want, and you can do as much as you want, as little as you want. Kit for the supercharged version starts about $12,500. I think if you get a naturally aspirated one, it can be about $10,000. And you select what you want, and they build it, do all the engineering work already, ship it to you, and then you find you a Chevy Cobalt and strip it down. With the Chevy Cobalt, you have about 3 or 4 choices. There's a supercharged version that came out in 05 and ran to about 07. Then 07, the SS became turbocharged. They also made an SS for a little bit that was naturally aspirated, had a little bit bigger engine, and then you can always get the automatic version that's running around on the streets. That's what most people think of when they see a Cobalt.
And so which one is this?
This one is the supercharged version. So the donor was an 06 Chevy Cobalt. We got it from a guy up in Kentucky and promptly stripped it down to essentially what you see here. All the black pieces on the car are pretty much from the Cobalt donor, like the dash, the steering assembly, and even the subframe. So the front subframe becomes the rear engine cradle for this thing.
Okay.
You choose your color, have it powder coated wherever you want. So it's not paint. Powder coating did the powder coating for us for all the red pieces, and then you start putting it all together, and that's...
So when you're making an order for this, like when you place that order, you mentioned that it's like $12,500 for the supercharged and it's like $10,000 for the naturally aspirated. What are they actually doing there? Are they doing like the stiffening or something like that to hold up to power, or what's the difference here? Because it sounds like you're getting your engine, your supercharger, out of your donor car, and it's not coming from the kit company itself. So
there's a few little things on it that are different. You have a heat exchanger up front, some plumbing for that, and various other pieces for the supercharged. Other than that, it's pretty much the same kit. The frame's the same. We elected for the short version, which DF doesn't offer anymore. They only offer the longer version. Being only 5'9", I didn't need all the extra room in there. So we saved about $1,000 by shortening it 6 inches.
And just and just thinking about it right here too, because you know, just last week we were at you know, Rocket City Octane, which if you haven't checked out that video, check it out down below, you know. And we were there talking about it and everything, and somebody came up saying, man, this thing can't weigh a lot. And I'm reading your little sheet you had on it here. Wasn't it like 1,400 pounds total or something?
1550 is what I'm guessing right about now. I tried to go to the cat scale the other day, and it's too light for the cat scales that do the trucks. So I wanted to have that before the car show, and then just didn't work out. 1550, maybe 1,600 pounds. I'm not sure if that's dry weight or full weight. It's only a 10-gallon tank, so we're only talking like an 80-pound difference. But in something like this, 80 pounds is
a lot.
Is a lot, yeah.
And like the conversation we were having is basically like we're kind of like going back and forth here. Is like, is it like a, you said 60-40. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way this
Maybe
is a 60-40. It's like, it's got to be like 70-30, or I'd honestly maybe pushing it up to like an 80-20, or probably more likely like a 75-25. I'm just like, but everybody out there, take a look at this while we're talking about it, and just, y'all make y'all's own choices, and then comment in the comments below, and let's see what the world actually thinks. There may be like a DF Goblin like expert or something if it gets crazy out there, and you know, they may be like, nah, that's, you know, 60-40 or something, and just blow my mind totally.
One of the guys actually calculated it up, and I was trying to find it before we came out, and I couldn't find that one post out of the thousands there are on the forum. So couldn't find it, but I remember it being, it's very rear heavy.
So, well, I mean, you got the whole engine back there, which was my argument at the show too. I'm like, your whole, like everything to this car is right there, you know?
Yeah. Of course, I've done a few other things, like the splitter in the front. That thing's heavier than it looks, and it's in the right place. It needed a little extra weight in the front. Some people go with like the small Brill racing batteries. I went the opposite route, and I've still got the stock style Cobalt battery in the front just for the extra weight to keep it down. The splitter was the biggest thing though. So about 70 miles an hour on the interstate, it would get light in the front end without the splitter. And now with the splitter on the front, with all the air running over it, 100 plus, it stays pretty solid. Don't do that very often, only when I go to Mexico.
Yeah, only in Mexico here. We don't do that. We don't do that in the States, especially not in a car that weighs 1,500 pounds. Like
the semis used to make me nervous on the interstate, and really the biggest thing that scares me is the other drivers. I have to stay pretty alert to all of them because they just don't see it. It's so small that they don't look for it, or
it's a go-kart.
Yeah,
it's a go-kart, man.
And then the other thing, people are videoing it and taking photos of it because they haven't ever seen one before.
And a lot of them are not paying attention when they do that.
Correct.
So even with like the classic car world, that's where I run into that a lot, where if someone's like videoing the Charger, which everybody knows my car, you know, or at least they should at this point if they're watching my videos. So it's like, you know, someone will be riding by, they'll be holding up their phone in the Charger. I'm like, dude, please be watching the road. Please watch the road, like, you know, and I'm sure you get that feeling times 10 in this, but
you get used to it. The ones that are best though are little kids. Seeing little kids stare at it and point at it, or like driving down the street and can't be older than 3 years old is tugging on their dad's shorts, like, hey, look at that. Seeing that with it is a good feeling with it.
I wouldn't doubt it. And I know at the show, like, you were letting them all get in it and things, like you're not being too like stingy about it, which, you know, which is great. Not that many people get super stingy, but there are some people out there, you know. But I know you allow that and everything too, though, based on like what was at that show. Yeah,
and I think part of it is the fun of building it with my son, but also if it's a tool to help the younger generation get into cars, and that's the thing that sparks it and really drives that interest, why would I want to deny kids something like that?
And to mention that there, the second owner of said vehicle right here is going to be joining us at the end of this interview, so stick around to see what he has to say as well, because he's excited to be talking about it as well with his dad here, you know. So like he definitely got into it, or at least it seems like he got into it here with this, and I'm sure he can't wait to get behind this thing and start banging some gears out when he gets
a few years off from that.
But, and then his dad is going to be sweating bullets at that same time.
But yeah, as you mentioned, co-builder, co-owner is my son, Daniel. He helped me with just about everything on this. The only thing that he got a pass on was the wiring. We did the wiring on it. You can send it into DF for them to do the wiring service. It's about $1,000. But one thing that the owners of the company really pressed was try it yourself and then use us as a crutch if you just can't do it. And I'm really glad that they pushed that because I was intimidated by the wiring, never done anything to this extreme. And I made it through it, and now I know all the wiring and where everything goes so much better than if I just handed it over and got a finished unit.
And I bet you can just kind of do anything if something breaks. It's like now it's just, yeah, you got all the benefits out of it.
Yep.
I do have some questions for you in terms of kit cars.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning that there's forums for this. So obviously there's a following for this type of car at the very least, you know, and I'm sure it's probably the same for most kit cars. I would assume, you know, or something along them lines, because I hear kit car, a lot of people think Cobras and GTs and things like that. You know, there's a huge following for Cobras.
Oh yeah.
There's a huge following for GTs. You know, I'm sure that people are like that. You have a big community that does this. Like, what do you think in terms of, since you built this kit car, do you think it's like a good, like, first step into cars? Like, would you say first step? And I mean that by, like, for inexperienced, like, would you say, what is the level of experience needed to start a kit car? Like, do you think it's low, beginner, intermediate, advanced? Like, where's that kind of at? Like,
This particular
because
one,
you do have the forums too to help you out, and that's why I kind of said that as well.
yeah, this particular kit, the Goblin, very easy to put together. They do all the welding, so the frame comes welded. You can opt to have the halo around it, so we did because of my son. But comes welded, but then everything else you can do with hand tools. I had power tools, makes it a whole lot easier, but you can do it. There's no cutting, there's no welding required on this, unless you want to get that extreme with it. If you want to drill a bunch of holes in things, it's your own car, or if you need to weld extra things onto it, it's free to do that as well. So very user-friendly, about 130 hours, including stripping the donor. That was about 30 hours. Wiring harness is about another, some people have done it in sub 30. It took me 36. I went slow, followed the videos, and just took my time with it to make sure I didn't make a lot of mistakes. Had to ask a lot of questions about wiring on the forum. One thing about that, we got answers in like 30 minutes. So there's always people on the forum, and they're always ready to help. And then after that, my son chose the color and chose the wheels, and then we started putting it all together.
Can I pause you for 1 second? Before we roll that far, you mentioned 130 hours and 30 hours. Like, I was kind of trying to add them up in my head there, and then I kind of got lost a little bit on the numbers. But what would you say that in real world time, like, instead of, because when some people hear 130 hours, it's hard for them to envision what is 130 hours, because you think 24 hours is a day, but you can't do it by like, oh, that's just 2 weeks or something like that. It's like, no, because you only work on it probably 3 hours a day, right?
That's right. So
so what's the realistic idea?
We broke it down to 2 or 3 hours a night, and worked on it when he could. And we got the kit back from powder coat mid to end July, and I'd say first or second week of October we were registered.
Okay.
So a month of that was waiting on the state to do the paperwork. So 2 or 3 months.
I guess on that right there as well, paperwork. So I've had this question come up, and I'm like, dude, I do not know. I've never built a kit car in my life. Is it hard to do the paperwork and things? Like,
there's another guy in Ardmore that has one. He kind of keeps to himself a little bit.
okay,
So
well, don't mention him then. 'Cause
yeah,
we want to keep
but-
privacy is key.
He's been a huge help. He helps me with a lot of things, answered a lot of questions. He's really good with electrical. He had already done all the paperwork, so he essentially scrubbed his name out of all the paperwork, and then showed me what he had done. And then I filled in the pieces, and about a month after I sent it in, he recommended that I contact the state, and the lady at the state was like, "You did this on the first try. How were you able to do that?" And
So the
it's like,
key is know a guy.
yeah. So he was a huge help. On the forum, he helps a lot of people too. And
Yeah.
there's a few members on the forum that are super active. But the biggest thing about these kit cars, the forum, the
Yeah.
community. So if you get stuck on something, there is a whole crew of us that have done this, probably struggled with that same problem, and have a solution, multiple solutions, so you can make the best choice of what direction you want to take that fix. Or if you want to do something different, like the splitter, somebody else designed it, and I went with that. The wing, like
the
you
big
choose your
wing.
own wing type of thing, but we share photos on there, share stories, share builds, so you can read. I don't know how many different builds there are that you can just read through. That was one of the first things I did, was I read through probably 10 different members' builds on their superchargers to see what they had done, what hurdles they had, and what things I needed to work out on. And I did the same thing in my build. If I struggled with something, I didn't hide it. I said, I made this mistake, or I struggled with this, and this is how I fixed it.
So definitely think about what you want if you're going to go into that kit build, because it isn't going to be easy necessarily. I mean, you may have a lot of help if you got the forum like that.
Yep.
You know, you may have a lot of help. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy, but there's ways to get around it. There's ways to fix stuff. You know, there's no wrong answer really, I guess, to something like this.
As long as you finish it, that's the right answer.
Yeah, as long as you can get to the end, you're doing good.
So one of the biggest things that also helps on this, aside from the forum, is Lonnie and Brenda Doyle and their son Adam. They run the company. They super helpful people, but they made all sorts of videos that get you probably 75 to 80% of the way complete.
Yeah.
All the way to the engine being in and firing. And if you've made it that far, you've definitely have it to finish it. The last bits of it after that are just putting on the rear suspension, putting on the side panels, the hood, the wing, the extra little bits like that. But on top of that, even though those things are missing from the videos, there's photos of everybody where we've done it and kind of help people along. And then, of course, same thing over again. If somebody asks the question, we're not going to just point them to a direction. We're going to tell them how to do it or how we did it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you here now. I want to hear the interesting stuff now.
Yeah.
What have you done with it? So you've had it done for 2 years now, right?
That's right.
So you've had it done for 2 years. What have you gotten into with it?
Took it to an autocross. That was a disaster. It was the coldest day of the year. I had the rear shocks set to the hardest setting, and I had some terrible tires on it, and I spent the whole day spinning. Need to go back. Weather, kid schedules permitting, I still want to do a few runs. Local group called Twickenham Auto Club puts them on at Milton Frank Stadium.
I need to join in with you on that.
And then on top of that, we take it places. If we go on trips, we take it down to the in-laws' place in the Auburn Opelika region.
Yeah.
We take it to Gatlinburg. We always go around the 4th of July, so take it up there. Goblin Fest. So this year, Goblin Fest is the first week of October out in Arkansas. Some beautiful roads and scenery out there, and it's just a bunch of Goblin guys that get together and kind of bomb around in that area.
Have you run it up like Tail of the Dragon yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, so you are.
I plan to one day.
Yep.
Went to a supplier right before I went to Gatlinburg this year. So I drove this to outside of Chattanooga and then drove the rest of the way to Gatlinburg. That was the longest I've ever driven it. Normally we tow it places. It's got a hitch that just hooks up to your car and it turns into a trailer.
How's the seat ride? Like,
Actually, not
Good.
bad. The only thing that stopped me was I didn't put on sunblock and I got roasted. The first part of the day it was cloudy and I was like, all right, I'm safe. And the second half of the day, the last 3 to 4 hours, just got cooked.
I don't know if you remember the Corvette that I owned.
No, I hadn't seen that one.
Okay, so I don't own it anymore. That's why no one's heard about it. But it's like I did the same thing with the top off, target top. You know, took it off, put it in the trunk, right around town with buddy. Didn't think nothing of it.
Yep.
We go home. Everything that could be seen by the sun was red. It was as red as a hot pepper.
We made the same mistake the first day of Goblin Fest last year, and we both got a little scorched. Had to go get some aloe, and then we learned our lesson. Everywhere you stop, spray the suntan lotion on again.
You gotta just reapply a little bit. You know, make sure we don't get too toasty. Well, let me tell you, you got any stories you want to go into more in depth here before we hand it over to owner number 2 here?
No, just the specs on it. Like you said, it's 1550, 1600 pounds. I estimate it's putting out 230, 250 wheel horsepower.
So you're sitting around, let's say, half of a motorcycle's power, because you got the weight that's about double a motorcycle, I would say, probably. It actually may be a little bit less than double, but
I know it's faster than a Harley.
yeah, it's definitely faster than a Harley, but you're sitting around the same horsepower though as well as like I think, if I'm not mistaken, somebody's probably going to correct me, but of like a 1,000 cc.
Yeah, I thought
bike.
those were mostly in the like 120, 130.
Okay, so maybe you're sitting right around a motorcycle then in this.
Yeah.
So
0 to 60 in it's about 3.2 seconds. So it's pretty
moving.
quick.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But you got these tiny tires on it too, so it'll actually, you stick to the road with these tires, like.
Yeah, so I've got 235s on it right now. Some guys have gone a little bit bigger, but if you go too wide, you actually don't put enough heat into the tires because
Okay.
it's so light it doesn't press down on it hard enough that if you don't get them hot, they don't stick. And then cold tires, you know what that's like.
Yeah, I'm aware of that one. So you know, but yeah, as long as it sticks down, right, and that's where you got the splitter and the wing and everything to help keep you down too.
And these Kumo V730s, they're pretty sticky. The only time it really breaks loose is if you're trying to break loose. If you launch from the light, it just launches. It doesn't turn the tires over going first to second. It just sticks.
Okay. Well, yeah. How about we get owner number 2 up in here and see what he's
sounds
got to
good.
say about
All
it,
right.
man. Well, hey, thank you for coming out and talking
Yes,
to
of
me
course.
and everything.
Thank
I
you.
greatly appreciate it here, just in case I don't get another chance to shake
All
your
right.
hand and if he takes up the rest of the time, you know. But we're going to be right here back with the next owner. And now we're back with Daniel Robinson. This is Jonathan's son, and this is owner number 2 of this car. Man, John, we just talked to him, and it's not like it's been a long time here, but you know, we come back another day. No, I'm just playing. But anyways, like, you helped him choose some of these things. Like he was mentioning, you helped choose the wheels, you helped choose the color of the car and everything. How much did you actually get involved with this?
From the start, since when we got the Cobalt, I kind of helped in like basically almost everything except for wiring, like my dad just said a while ago. That I think the only things that we managed to save or are in the Goblin right now are the engine and anything that's like interior. The frame and all that, including the wheels, were all just sent to, I'm not sure what happened to them actually.
Well, let me say this then. On the Cobalt specifically, so you helped him tear it apart. Yes?
I did.
What did you think about tearing a car apart like that? Because I know for me and him, we've done that before. You know, we've been experienced with that. What did you think about that? Because that was probably was that your first time tearing a car apart?
Yes, that actually was my first time.
Give me your thoughts. What'd you think?
My thoughts about it wasn't like dissecting it like an animal or so. It kind of felt like it, but wasn't at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it was like basically a machine,
Yeah.
and also
But did you find some things in the car that you weren't necessarily expecting to be there? Like,
Oh.
I don't know how far y'all went into it. Like, did y'all tear the dash out? Like, interior, like tearing carpet out? Like,
that actually does remind me that when we were like taking off the steering wheel and all and the dash, we found in like the kind of like like the thing that you fold down like the shade.
Yeah.
We found a Joker card
the visor.
inside of it.
So, did you save the Joker card?
I think we did. Yeah, I don't know where it is right now, but we did.
That's pretty neat. I'm gonna see if y'all can get me a picture of that then, and I'm gonna add it into the video here so everybody knows exactly what we're talking about here. Going back to the Goblin though, what do you think about this car?
Oh my
Tell me your
goodness.
thoughts on it. When I'm guessing you went autocrossing with your dad.
Yes, I did.
You did go autocrossing. How was that experience? Was that a first?
Yes, would be a first.
Okay. Tell us about it.
Well, this thing, even in like when it's like going like low, probably like 20 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
it still feels very fast.
Mm-hmm. So, when you get this car, are you going to be autocrossing it?
Probably.
Okay.
If not joining and joining in races or so.
Yeah. So I'm going to have a couple questions here for you in regards to that autocross, because I know your dad's experience with this since I work with him. But are you taking on the challenge of learning how to tune the car and things like that, like tune your suspension and things like that?
Not right, and not at the current moment right now, but that might be something I will do in the future.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be fun then. That'll be awesome though, right?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add here?
Well,
Please,
how about like some slide stories or so?
go for it.
So when we got the frame, the semi truck that it was in was huge.
Mm-hmm.
But
They deliver it in like a crate, I'm guessing? Like,
not exactly a crate. It was just basically the frame with a few boxes inside of it.
okay. Okay. I've never gotten anything like this, so I have no idea. Like, I'm relying on you to tell me.
Yeah, and when they were unloading it, I think I saw a second frame in there as well.
Okay. And do y'all know, have y'all talked to that owner?
No.
No?
We don't know who owns it. We just saw it in it.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did have some problems with building this, like when we got it powder coated. After we started intentionally building it, the powder coating actually started to flake,
Okay.
and so we had to take it apart and then send it back to the powder coat to reapply it.
That gives me a pretty good question for you, actually. Throughout this build, because I know you helped with Jonathan and everything building it, what was the most like challenging, or what made you the most nervous even? Like challenging, nerves, you work those nerves up when you're doing something like this, especially if it's your first time, And what was that for you in this car?
So for challenging parts, a lot of it was challenging, especially like installing like the battery and so, as well as like installing like fluids. One time when we were actually putting in like, I think it was antifreeze or
Antifreeze?
yeah, when we were installing that, it actually was starting to leak on the bottom of it.
Okay.
It was leaking. But the most challenging part of it was installing the engine.
Okay.
We had to lift it up lift up the frame with a crane and then slide the engine in it and try our best to just screw it into place.
Okay. So that's your most nerve-wracking or most challenging for you.
Yeah, we even had his father and uncle came and helped us with it one time. And then once we were working on it, the power actually went out, and we were relying on our phones to keep light,
Oh,
to
man.
see.
So I've been in that situation before where I'm working in a dark garage and just having to hold a light up. Oh man.
Yeah, things can happen when the power is off.
Yeah, it
And it
gets
was
nervous.
off for a while.
I gotcha.
Yeah, and also kind of like since you kind of like said about running this thing, it's actually it is pretty loud and on its own, but it was very loud without a muffler.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can see the muffler on the back, most definitely there. Like so open headers is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Open headers is like nice and loud, even with a 4-cylinder.
yeah, this even with its just size, it is pretty loud.
Do you like it?
Yeah,
Sweet.
you actually do get pretty used to it after riding in it for a while.
And how old are you?
How old?
Yeah.
Right now I'm 14, but I'm about to turn 15.
So you gonna learn in this?
Yeah, probably. I don't
Hey.
know how long it's gonna take me to actually be able to drive it.
Gotta give Dad a look over there and be like, 15? Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
He's shaking his head up and down, guys, just so y'all know. He's all about it. I'm joking. But
Yeah, he also told me that it is kind of like finicky, like it's kind of a little bit more difficult to drive than than a normal car.
So I'll tell you, in regards to that, if you remember the conversation me and your dad was having when we were talking about the weight distribution, a lot of that's going to be because of that, in my opinion. Now, your dad's going to be the expert on this, so he may have something to say differently, but in my expert opinion, it's going to be because of your weight distribution. So just something for you to keep in mind when you move into the ownership of this or just into the driving of it. Keep in mind that you have this, I don't know the proper way to say it, but basically you have this difference in weight between the front and rear tires. So there's more weight back here than there is up here. But
So basically, when this starts rolling, it's basically like a NASCAR, and you all probably know what some things that happen during like a race or so.
oh yeah,
Like it like wants to like flip over or anything like that.
oh yeah.
Because my dad did told me that he kind of did feel it kind of like doing like a wheelie or so, and that's the reason why he added the splitter. So
I bet you the splitter helped a bit there.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I never noticed it ever trying to do a wheelie, but that's the reason why.
Okay. Well, hey, let's get into hearing this thing run then, all right?
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming and talk to me. I definitely appreciate that as well, man.
Yeah, I appreciate being here as well.
Yeah. So let's get into hearing this thing run then, all right?
Okay.
Be right back.
See you at the next car show.
There you have it, guys. Be sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.